Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Comedic Pedro, Part 3. Well, I thought we could talk about working, W-O-R-K. And you might say to yourself, oh, for goodness sakes, I thought this was Comedic Pedro. And, we want a break from work. We don't enjoy our work. Work is very dull and boring. We want a diversion. Well, actually, I would say, there's actually funny things in work. And actually, if you've seen the TV show The Office, you'd think, what could be more boring than working in an office? But they have a whole TV show. It's a comedy, right? And I was thinking if you apply for a job for an office job, you could say, well, what are your qualifications? And you say, well, I've watched every episode of The Office. Now, going back to when I was a little boy, I remember in our family we received an allowance, an amount of money based on our age, 10 cents for every year of life. So at age 5, I got 50 cents a week from my father, maybe 2 quarters, something like that, and when it's your birthday, you got a 10-cent raise. Yeah, so it's age 6, it'd be 2 quarters and a dime. And my memory is that I was interested in chocolate candy bars as a little boy, and there was a store you could walk to, and not too far away, I'd get this, Hershey's chocolate bars made with almonds, or I think Reese's peanut butter cups were my favorite. They had Butterfingers, which were pretty good, actually, and all kinds of things. But anyway, that's what I would be spending my money on. And then I remember I didn't have money one day, and I went over and I just took a candy bar and brought it home. And I thought I made a great discovery, that, you can get stuff for free. And I told my sister Pam, I said, oh, Pam, look at this, I got a candy bar, I didn't pay. And she said, Peter, that's stealing, that's wrong, that's terrible. And so she marched me back to the store, and I apologized, brought back the candy bar. I hadn't eaten it yet, and I said I was sorry to the guy. He was very nice, I was just a little kid. So I learned that stealing, you can't. So then one day I remember, now you see the thing, this is the early mid-1960s. The consumer culture wasn't that nearly as powerful as it is today. And I was kind of a simple boy and kind of I wasn't that ambitious. I didn't really want things that much, like some of my friends. And I was kind of shy about asking my parents to get me things. But I remember when I was maybe 5 or 6, these Hot Wheel cars, these toy cars were popular. They still are, I think. And I remember, I told my mother, I wanted to get a Hot Wheels car. And she said, well, Peter, do you have the money to pay for it? And they were 50 cents. 50 cents at the time. And I said, no, I don't have any money. She says, well, Peter, I'm not going to buy it for you. You're going to have to work. So I learned about working at a young age 5 or 6. And I said, well, what can I do? And so she said, she took me out in the yard and, and gave me a paper bag from the grocery store back in the old days. They didn't have handles. There were these paper bags you buy your groceries in. Later, they came out with plastic, which I think is better, actually, because plastic is stronger and repels water and very, very light, And nowadays, everyone's against plastic, Now they stop using sometimes plastic in the grocery store. Bad for the environment. So you get these paper bags, and they're kind of cumbersome. And, they don't repel water, so if you put it down on a wet surface, it's going to get wet, and they're kind of heavy, and sometimes they have handles, no handles. Yeah, good luck carrying a bunch of groceries without any handles, because the plastic ones do. And I taught chemistry one time. I learned a lot about years ago that plastic is the plastic molecule is very long. That's why plastic is very strong. So not everyone's against plastic. Well, anyway. So my mother gave me this paper bag from the grocery store. Well, she says, well, Peter, you fill this up with weeds, and I'll pay you 50 cents. She gave me a weed digger. This weed diggers, you stick it, and we'd have like dandelions, which are considered a weed, in the lawn. This is not in the front lawn. So you can't just pull them out. You got to stick the weed digger down into the dirt, and cut off the plant below the surface. So hopefully, it comes back anyway, but at least it's little maybe slower in coming back. So if I filled that bag full of weeds, mostly dandelions, she would pay me 50 cents. So that was a fair amount of work, but it's okay. Things need to be done. The thing about work is things need to be done, and there's a joy of accomplishment. Hopefully we have a positive attitude about our work. So anyway, that was beginning early experience with work for me. And then as time passed, I got a little bit older, and eventually I had to, did a fair amount. We moved to a large property, and I was responsible for mowing the lawn, cutting the grass. So with my father, we worked together, and raking leaves. Actually a big area. There was a lot of work. Early on, when our earlier house at smaller yard, we had a hand mower. You got to push it. It's kind of tough, and there were blades that would go around. You're pushing this mower, and the cut grass goes in the back, and then you put it in a bag and so forth. But with when we moved to this larger house, big yard, we got a power mower. It was such a big yard. And this is where you got to put gasoline in the mower, and my father would go to the gasoline station, fill it up, and I would be responsible for mowing the lawn. This is when I was older, 13, 14, 15 in there, and the tree lawn. My father would trim around the trees and by the bushes. And it was a front yard back. That would take me much of Saturday. And it was kind of fun, though. And then we had actually grass down by the lake. I had to carry this lawnmower down these wooden steps. Oh, gosh. And we'd do that. Anyway, I was kind of enjoyed it. We moved out of that house in 2011. And when my father died, or he was dying, and then he died. And then I used to have this, I felt kind of bad. We lost the family home. And I used to have a dream. I had a dream. I dreamt that I snuck back to the house and was cutting the grass, working in the yard late at night secretly, because I missed it. I missed doing the work. And then in my dream, the people came out and said, "What are you doing here? What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. We used to live here, and I really miss working on the yard." So, and I actually met the new owners. I told her the story, and she said, "Oh, well, you can come over anytime you want to work on the yard." Yeah, and September, October, the leaves fall off a lot of the trees. So we'd rake leaves. I used to enjoy. We'd listen to Cleveland Browns NFL football games on the radio. We had a transistor radio, and we'd move it around the yard. My father and I would be raking leaves and listening to the Browns game. That was fun. Yeah, there was actually a tree. One of the leaves would fall at different times, and then the leaves. One of the last trees to shed its leaves had these big leaves, very big, so a lot of work, and we would rake them, and actually there was like a ravine. We used to dump all the yard clippings and the leaves down the ravine at the side and at the back. So that was we kind of enjoyed that, but you're outside. I don't miss it now because there's other things I can do. I like to read books, and I'm in an apartment now. But and also we used to have to shovel snow. We had a driveway, to get the front walk, and I used to go all out and shovel the sidewalk, and it could be a big job, shoveling snow. Actually, we had a fireplace. I used to kind of enjoy chopping wood. We would have trees maybe would fall down during a storm, and the tree man would come out and cut it up, and we'd have all these logs. And my father bought a wedge and a sledgehammer that you need to split these logs. Yeah, so I used to do that, and then bring the wood into the garage, and then we'd use that for fires. We'd have a fire, kind of nice in the wintertime in the fireplace, very cozy. And so I used to enjoy all the. I did a lot of work at home and outside, and then. I got a job paying money, delivering newspapers. I think I was 15, and boy, I enjoyed that. I didn't have too many newspapers. It was the afternoon newspaper, the Cleveland Press. Actually, Louis Seltzer, the one-time editor, if you watch the video I made called Lakewood Cemetery, Famous People Tour, he's buried there, and I talked about him. He's buried not far from my mom and dad. So I used to deliver the Cleveland Press newspaper, afternoon paper. They would. The guy would drop off the bundle of papers. It was at the corner of Elmwood and Kenwood in Rocky River. Actually, I usually very often take a walk down there, and I pass by that spot. I think I had about 25 papers that I would deliver, and it was a pretty mellow route. I was paid 4 cents a paper. It was an easy route, like 25, 30 papers. So I made about $1 or something a day, but it was I think it was about an hour's work. Pick up the paper, and I used to. Since I was kind of a lazy guy, or I was into sports, Cleveland sports, so I used to open the sports section. Before I would deliver papers, I would read the sports section. See how the Cleveland Indians were doing, or whoever, the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Cavaliers. And I remember the headline was, Jim Perry traded to the Oakland A's for Blue Moon Odom. Yeah, it was a big trade. Like, whoa, exciting! So I get the news from and I had a bicycle with actually we put in baskets. Where I put the newspapers in and head up the street, and I'd have deliver the paper. The people would want different places. So maybe the paper in the front by the front door or wherever it want. They'd let you know, so you knew where it goes. And it was up the 2 streets. You'd think I'd remember the names. I think it was Stratford and Beechwood, between Elmwood and Wager. And go down the street, delivering the papers up to Wager up and then back. And one day I fell asleep after school, and I thought it was morning, and I woke up, and I thought it was morning, so I went out to get the morning paper, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and it wasn't there. No, what's going on? Where's the paper? And I saw children playing across the street, and I thought, excuse me, I thought, my golly, look at these kids playing out early in the morning. And then I pulled I used to have breakfast. I had a bowl of cereal, and I got some cereal out and poured a bowl of cereal, milk with cereal. And I was eating my cereal, and then telephone rang, and a guy said, "Where's my paper?" And I said, what do you mean? I deliver the afternoon paper. And then it dawned on me that it was still afternoon. I had just taken a nap. It was not morning, so I went out and delivered the papers. I was late, so I felt a little bit bad about that, and I was very disconcerted because my sense of time was all mixed up. Yeah, some of the other kids, they delivered the morning paper. Oh, those guys were tough. They had to get up early, and some of them had large routes. I had a very easy route, 25, 30 papers. Other guys, might have 60, 80, 100 papers, and they were getting up in like 4 in the morning. Oh boy, well, these guys were trying to make some better money than I was. And later. So I did that for about a year. It was an enjoyable thing, delivering the Cleveland Press. Then in high school, actually it was Rick Donaldson my friend, he had the route, and he encouraged me to take over, and I did. And then and in high school, a friend of mine, Joe Schaefer, worked at the Westwood, this restaurant at Westgate. I think it was called the Westwood. And he said, "Hey, Pete, you can apply for a job as a dishwasher." I was a junior in high school, and by then I was depressed. I'd become depressed. That's how life is. I was facing life, and my sister had died. But anyway, I thought, I got to grow up. I have to be serious. I was a good student, working hard, getting good grades, and so I took this job as washing dishes after school. I'd come home from school, take the bus up to Westgate. And I didn't keep that job too long, maybe 6 months, something like that. It's pretty depressing. I'd come home from school and go to this job, take the bus up there, and work there and come home and have to do homework after I got home. And the job, it's this restaurant. The waitresses would put the soiled dishes on trays, and it would come down, and you didn't have to actually wash them. You just sort of scrape off the food. Sometimes I'd play with the mashed potatoes and put between my fingers, or the Jell-O. We had a poster of King Kong on the wall. We'd throw ice cubes at his mouth. Kind of a target, and it was kind of hot in there, steamy. You basically scrape off the food and put it in these I guess it was something, and it would go through the machine where it would really be washed, industrial machine, and you'd come out, and then it would, and then you'd stack them, I think, and where the waitresses or whoever could put them back, use them for the next meals. And it was kind of hot and steamy, so you're kind of hot, and then you get a little bit wet. Your pants would get kind of wet. So it's kind of, I did that job, and kind of a boring job. You're just back there in the there in the dishwashing area. And sometimes, this conveyor belt bring these trays of dirty dishes in, and sometimes it would be, if they're real busy, sometimes it'd be backed up, and the waitresses would get all mad, like, hey, what the hell, we have no room to put on new trays of dirty dishes. So we'd have to get a move on, get cracking. Yeah, so that was that job, in high school. And I quit the job. I tried out for the baseball team, and as a junior in high school, I didn't make the team, and I guess I was tired of that job. It was pretty depressing. I was go to school all day and go do this job, and it wasn't a great. I wasn't making minimum wage. So actually, during these years I was in Boy Scouts, and I wasn't paid, and there was no income. But Boy Scouts, man, we had a lot of work to do. We worked, and you go camping. A lot of work in camping. You get to a campsite, you got to put up the tarp. It's a big canvas thing where you have to keep your patrol box under. Patrol box has all the things for cooking. You gotta eat, and then you have to set up your tent with the tent poles, and then you have to. You got to get water. We had these pretty heavy water jugs, very real heavy plastic, and those have to be filled. Find out where the water pipe is. You fill up the water, and everybody had their different jobs. We assigned jobs. That had to collect firewood. We cooked on wood fires. The kids, you got to go off and you got to find wood that's kind of old and dry, not the new stuff, because the older wood burns better. And you got to set up this it was like a metal thing that you'd put the cooking, you have to have something you have your fire, and then there's a metal thing over it, and you put your pots for cooking over that. And then you have to cook your food, prepare it, right, and hopefully do a decent job. You got to clean up afterwards, kitchen patrol, a lot of work in camping. And eventually I was a patrol leader, so not only was there work to be done, but I had to kind of direct people, and I didn't really, it was kind of challenging, because I remember one day we had a thing called the hot pot holder. It was kind of like pliers that you would pick up a pot, it's a metal pot, so it's hot. You can't pick it up by the handle. You have these hot pot holders. And we lost that. It was missing, and I was overwhelmed with responsibility of all the work, for getting these guys to work. Some of the guys are lazy. They don't want to do anything. And so I remember I was beside myself, and I went off in the woods. I was just kind of having an emotional meltdown. I was 13, I believe, or maybe 12, yeah. And I remember I had a spiritual experience. I saw this, I think I even prayed, and I saw this, there was like a small dead tree in the shape of a cross, and the sunlight went on that cross, and I thought, whoa, look at that. So it made me feel a little better, and we went back, found the hot pot holders. Yeah, so that was pretty good. And anyway, so yeah, Boy Scouts, we had a lot of work, and then some of if it was a backpacking expedition, you got to carry your stuff from place to place in a backpack. Your sleeping bag, tent, and clothes, and so forth. And that can be. One year we got lost, and we were all becoming delirious. We're dehydrated. It was in New Mexico at Philmont Scout Ranch. Yeah. So anyway. So let's see. Well, let me think of other things. Oh, I was a lifeguard in high school. That's a pretty easy job. You're sitting there up in this elevated chair, making sure nobody's drowning and everything. Usually telling kids to stop running. And I did that. And what other jobs did I do? Then a friend of mine was kind of ambitious. We used to go around, knock on doors in winter and shovel people's driveways if they for money, they'd pay us, or in the fall, or maybe in the fall or spring, clean their gutters, because the leaves would go in the gutters, and it would get clogged. So we used to do that, and so anyway, let me think for a minute. Oh yeah, after high school, the guys, a lot of the guys in my class worked for the city of Rocky River in the service department that summer. It's a summer job right after high school, a whole bunch of them. I found out about that a lot of guys were doing that, and so I thought, oh, why don't I do that? So I went up to City Hall and filled out an application, and I met with the mayor of Rocky River at the time, Earl Martin, and he called me into his office, and he said, well, what street do you live on? And I said, Avalon Drive, sir. And Avalon Drive is probably very wealthy street. We're on Lake Erie, big houses, and then he said, you're hired, because politically, my father would be a VIP, so it's a good idea to hire kid from Avalon Drive. So, yeah, I did that job. Yeah, we were cutting grass in the city parks, and part of some of it was garbage pickup. A lot of it was as I recall. And I got in trouble one day. At the end of the day, I went out in a guy's truck, and because actually I was 18 years old. I was drinking at night, not getting enough sleep, and I took a nap in a guy's truck, and he found me. He was real mad, so that was a bad idea. Yeah, so I had that job. Yeah, and then another friend of mine said, "Hey Pete, the county coroner's office had an opening." A friend of mine, Joe Novak, wanted to be a doctor. And the coroner's office is where when somebody dies and it's not clear, the cause of death. If it has to, when people die, it's an official act, and it has to be. It's either natural causes or murder or suicide, and that has to be, there has to be a death certificate. And obviously, if someone has been murdered, that's a criminal case. So, and even suicide, they want to make, I guess they want to classify it. So anyway, I had a job. Yeah, I worked there at the second part of the summer at nights. Oh, terrible! I used to take the bus to the east side of Cleveland at night from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And our job was to receive dead bodies during the night. Can you imagine that? What a horrendous job! And we actually used to sleep much of the time, so because there's nothing to do, and so we'd set out some chairs and fall asleep and. Next thing you know, there's a telephone would go off or whatever, that there was a body, so we were like, wake up, and this body'd come in, and we'd have to, deal with it. And actually, my job was to, believe it or not, I'd have to empty the pockets of whatever, and I'd have to undress the body. Somebody got to do it, and that's what I did. Oh, golly. I remember they brought a guy in who was on his way to a Cleveland Indians baseball game. He had his cap, and he had a ticket in his pocket, and you'd think he died of a heart attack on the bus. Another guy was murdered, was shot to death, and anyway, it was kind of a troubling job. But, somebody's got to do it, and I did it. So anyway, I went to college. My father had been a legend, according to family lore. Had worked as a waiter at the Oberlin Inn Oberlin as a waiter. I never did that. I thought I've never been a waiter. I'm very intimidated by that. Taking orders from people. You got to get it right. And whatever they want, and then go to the. So anyway, he did that, and so I thought in college I should have a job. So I got a job again as a dishwasher. Yeah, a dishwasher at the dining room. Yeah, I did that, and we had. You have to scrape the food off into these, usually there's extra food, and you scrape it into these large garbage cans. Apparently they would sell that to hog farmers as slop for, food for the hogs. So, yeah, I did that for a period of time in college. And then trying to think about other jobs. I had another college summer. Oh, yeah, I was working at a construction company. Yeah, we were. They're building up. It's here in Rocky where we're putting up buildings, and I don't know what I was doing, carrying stuff around, and I didn't have a lot of physical strength or any skills, but digging. I can't remember much about that job, but we used to carry stuff around, and anyway, and then I got an open. This is summer of '79. I got a job on an iron with U.S. Steel that same summer. This job opening came up on a steam freighter carrying iron ore from up in Minnesota, the iron ore range in Minnesota, Mesabi Iron Ore Range, down to the steel mills in Chicago, Illinois, and then Cleveland, Ohio. Well, not actually, they didn't. Cleveland has it, but we didn't come to Cleveland. Lorain, Ohio, the Great Lakes. So these. It was a cool job. These big ships are like 800 feet long. I worked as in the kitchen. They had a crew, the guys in the engine room and the deckhands and so forth. And there was a cook and an assistant cook and then me. So I was washing dishes, and looking out the porthole as stuff passed by. Really enjoyed that job. And there was this old Greek American guy. He was a funny guy, and. I'd come out. Actually, I used to serve the meals to the sailors or take their orders. What did they want? And write the menu. There's like a menu with a chalk, and I used to write. I know every breakfast there was eggs, and I would just be kind of funny. I put egg instead of eggs. Yeah, it was good food, good pay, and I felt very manly, because working on this ship for United States Steel. And remember, we were into Chicago, and we get time off. We be able to get off the ship for a while, from once in a while. And while they were unloading, usually when they're unloading, you'd have a few hours. Go into the town if you want. Go to a bar. As a young man, go to a bar, right? And remember, I called my family, my parents, and my sister Patricia, I think, was home, and I said I was in Chicago. And my sister said, "Oh, Chicago." I guess it seemed glamorous to her. That was only for a month. I was just a substitute working for a guy who was on vacation. Real good money. I did that a couple summers. Actually, I got one summer. The following summer, I got fired from that job as a working for this construction company because business was bad, and it was only me and another guy, I think. And I was not, I was, drinking at night and tired and stuff, and so I got fired. And my mom was pretty mad, and she drove me up to Center Edge and told me, "You need to get a job, another job." It was college summer. I applied at all these places. I got hired at a restaurant as a, as a busboy. You go to, it's a pretty easy job. You go and, when the people left, you'd have a tray, and you take off the dirty dishes and stuff like that. And I think probably reset it with clean stuff, or what, maybe, well, no, not really. But, pretty easy job. I did that. I remember they had cream puffs in the freezer. And one time I went in, I would go in, and I was not supposed to do it. I was eating some cream puffs, and the cook got wind of it, and she accused me of it. I denied it, even though I think I said I had some, some of this, what do you call it, the white stuff on I think my nose or on my cheek. So pretty obvious. I had evidence of my crime. So that was another job. So anyway, I finished college. Actually worked for a while. I was in San Francisco. I worked at a job going door to door, trying to raise money for an organization called United Neighbors in Action. It was supposedly a nursing home reform organization. We'd go about from like 4 in the afternoon to maybe 9 at night, knocking on doors and asking people to make donations. So anyway, that was another interesting job. Well, it appears we're out of time. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.